Welcome, friend, to another journey through the hidden corners of Skyrim. Today, we delve into the facts surrounding Blackreach, the vast underground Dwemer metropolis that sprawls beneath multiple holds of Skyrim, a city of glowing mushrooms, ancient machinery, and secrets that have waited thousands of years to be discovered. Imagine a cavern so enormous that distance itself becomes uncertain, where giant mushrooms tower higher than buildings, where a false sun hangs in eternal twilight, and where the ghosts of a vanished civilization still guard their greatest achievements. Imagine pools of opaque teal water, streets patrolled by bronze automatons, and a dragon sleeping in the dark, waiting to be awakened. This is Blackreach, a place of wonder and horror in equal measure, where the Dwemer mined a crystal so valuable it destroyed their alliance and left their grandest city abandoned to darkness. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if you like the content. The darkness pressed against my torch as I descended deeper into the earth, through corridors of bronze and stone that had known no daylight for thousands of years. Then, without warning, the passage opened, and I beheld what my eyes could scarcely comprehend. Before me stretched a cavern so vast that distance itself became uncertain, swallowed by a teal mist that drifted through the air like the breath of some sleeping god. This was Blackreach, and everything I thought I knew about the scale of Dwemer ambition died the moment I saw it. The Dwemer called this place Fal'Zhardum Din, which in their tongue means blackest kingdom reaches, and standing at its threshold, I understood why. The cavern extends beneath the Pale, Winterhold, Hjalmarch, Hofengar, and the Reach. Some scholars believe it may stretch beneath all 9 holds of Skyrim itself. Above me, the stone ceiling glowed with a blue bioluminescence I cannot explain, as if the rock itself had absorbed starlight from ages past. Massive vines hung from this glowing expanse, their tendrils reaching downward toward the cavern floor far below, while other vines defied all natural law and floated upward, particularly near what I would later learn was the Raldvar Deep Market. Let me speak first of the mushrooms that grow here, for they are unlike any fungus found in the world above. Scattered throughout Blackreach are glowing mushrooms of normal size, their pale blue light marking safe passage through the darkness. But in this cavern, some have grown to proportions that defy belief. Their stalks rise taller than the Dwemer buildings themselves, towering structures of living matter that dwarf even the great trees of Falkreath. When I first entered through the stairs from Alftand, I saw upon the stone walls to my left a cluster of these mushrooms grown to 20 times their natural size, their caps spreading like the roof of a mead hall, though they grow too high upon the rock face for any hand to reach them. The pools of water throughout Blackreach possess a quality I have never witnessed elsewhere. They are not merely dark or murky, they are an opaque teal, as though someone had ground precious gems into powder and mixed them with the underground streams. A subterranean river flows through the cavern, its waters carrying this same otherworldly hue, and where the river cascades into falls, the sound echoes through the vast space like distant thunder. The air itself behaves strangely here. Though I stood deep beneath the earth, in a place where no wind should blow, I felt the movement of air currents. Mushroom spores drift through the atmosphere in lazy spirals, catching the blue light from above and creating an ever-shifting haze that makes it difficult to grasp the true size of this place. Walking a single mile in Blackreach, I later learned, equals walking 1 1/3 miles upon the surface. The very scale of the cavern plays tricks upon distance and perception. But now, let us speak of the discovery that brought the Dwemer to this place in numbers great enough to build a city. Sometime after the year 1E221, the Dwemer miners, working in these depths, uncovered something that would change the fate of their entire civilization in Skyrim. They found Aetherium, a rare, luminescent blue crystal that possessed magical properties unlike anything they had encountered before. The mineral defied all conventional methods. It could not be enchanted, smelted, molded, bound, or broken by any known process. It was alchemically inert and harmonically volatile, requiring outdoor storage despite being discovered in the deepest mines. The Dwemer response to this discovery was characteristically ambitious. 4 cities entered into an alliance to oversee the extraction, processing, and study of this mysterious crystal. Arkanthams became the command center and primary research facility for the entire project. Raldvar, which sat directly above Blackreach, took responsibility for the mining operations, its shafts reaching down into the very heart of the Aetherium deposits. Mzulft served as a storage site for the extracted crystal. The fourth city, Betharzel, now known only as Deep Folk Crossing, undertook a role that scholars can only speculate about, though many believe it served as an experimentation facility. I must now turn your attention to the great crystals themselves. As I walked through Blackreach, I saw massive chunks of glowing stone scattered throughout the cavern, embedded in the walls and floor. The book, The Aetherium Wars, heavily implies these are not mere decorative crystals, but actual Aetherium lodes, the raw deposits from which the Dwemer extracted their precious material. To stand before these glowing formations is to understand the scale of the discovery that so consumed the Dwemer mines. Yet there is more to tell of the war that this discovery brought. The Aetherium project produced results that were, by all accounts, nothing short of spectacular. Deep beneath the settlement of Bethaft in the Rift, the Dwemer constructed the Aetherium Forge, a facility capable of smelting the crystal under precisely controlled conditions. The artifacts produced by this forge were imbued with incredible power from the moment of their creation, crowns that could harness the power of the standing stones, shields that could render enemies ethereal, and staffs capable of summoning Dwemer animunculi. But such power breeds conflict, and the alliance that had seemed so strong began to fracture. Internal disputes erupted over control of the Aetherium resources, the artifacts, and most critically, the forge itself. What began as disagreement grew into open warfare between the four city-states, a conflict that would be known as the Aetherium Wars. For decades, this internal fighting raged, with the four cities and their rivals vying for dominance, and this prolonged conflict did what no external enemy had managed to do. It weakened the Dwemer of Skyrim. High King Galir saw his opportunity. Leading his armies across Skyrim, he conquered the weakened Dwemer cities one after another, claiming most of their territories in just 3 years. Though the Dwemer would eventually recover and reclaim much of what they had lost over the following century, the Aetherium project was abandoned. The great lift to the Aetherium Forge was sealed shut, and the Aetherium crest that opened it was shattered into 4 separate shards. Each shard was hidden and guarded by one of the 4 city-states, Arkinthams, Ralbdar, Betharzel, and Mzulft, ensuring that no single faction could access the forge that had brought them such glory and such ruin. The cost of the Aetherium, it seemed, had proven too great, even for the Dwemer's legendary ambition. If you're still with me after hearing this, hit that like and subscribe button. The question of how to reach this subterranean realm troubled me greatly until I learned the truth. 3 great Dwemer cities above provide pathways down into Blackreach's depths: Alftan to the southwest of Winterhold, Mzingcheleft to the southwest of Dawnstar, and Ralbthar positioned west-southwest of Windhelm. Each of these ruins presents its own deadly gauntlet of traps, automatons, and corrupted Falmer before revealing the way below. Yet even reaching the deepest chambers of these ruins is not enough, for the Dwemer sealed the final passage with a mechanism that requires a specific key. This key is called an attunement sphere, a Dwemer device of peculiar design that, when placed upon the proper receptacle, causes a spiral staircase to reveal itself in the floor, descending to a door that opens directly into Blackreach. Without this sphere, the entrance remains hidden, a secret kept by Dwemer engineering for thousands of years. Once I possessed this device and descended through Alftan, I found myself emerging at the northeastern end of the Great Cavern at a place called Alftan Cathedral. Allow me to tell you about the great lifts that the Dwemer constructed to provide swift transport between the surface and Blackreach. Once someone has entered Blackreach through one of the 3 main ruins, they can unlock these lifts from within. The Great Lift at Alftand stands northeast of Nightgate Inn. The Great Lift at Mzingcheleft rises south of that ruin's entrance, and the Great Lift at Ralbdar emerges west-southwest of Anga's Mill. Each lift, once activated from below, creates a fast travel marker on the surface, allowing future access to Blackreach without the need to traverse the deadly ruins again. These engineering marvels speak to the Dwemer's understanding that while security was paramount, convenience for authorized users was also valued. I shall now turn to the ruins of the city itself, for in the western portion of Blackreach stands what remains of a Dwemer urban center, now known simply as the Silent City. This collection of buildings represents the heart of what was once a thriving underground metropolis. The entire area is patrolled by Falmer and their servants. The twisted descendants of the Snow Elves have claimed these halls as their own, filling them with their primitive tents and crude fortifications. The debate hall rises in the southeastern part of the Silent City, a structure with twin towers that the Falmer have fortified with their own crude battlements atop the Dwemer foundations. 3 ground-level entrances provide access from the city grounds, and a 4th connects to the pumping station. Inside, I found a large, brightly lit room with ancient Dwemer machinery still whirling and clanking in the corners. Protected by metal gratings, the Falmer servants sit on west-facing stone benches, perhaps mimicking some long-forgotten Dwemer custom they witnessed before their race's corruption, though they no longer understand what they reenact. Within a small room near the spiral staircase that leads to the upper exit, I discovered a copy of A Dance in Fire, Volume 6. Lying beside a skeleton, a speech skill tome that somehow found its way to these depths. But now, let me speak of what hangs above the debate hall, for it is perhaps the most striking feature of the entire Silent City. Suspended in a cage of Dwemer construction, a massive orange orb glows like a false sun, casting its light across the ruins below. This is not merely decoration, it serves a purpose far stranger than illumination. I learned through whispered tales that this orb, when struck with sufficient force from the unrelenting Force Shout, produces a deep gong-like sound that echoes throughout the entirety of Blackreach, and this sound awakens something that has slumbered here since before the fall of the Dwemer. His name is Vulthuryol, and in the dragon language, this translates to Dark Overlord Fire. He is an ancient dragon, bronze in coloring, with black and beige patterns upon his wings and tail, and he exists at a fixed power equivalent to a dragon of the 50th level. When the orb rings, Vulthuryol emerges from wherever he has been hiding within Blackreach's vast spaces. He flies briefly over the Dwemer fortress above which the orb hangs, releasing a single fire breath shout that strikes no particular target, as though announcing his presence. Then he descends and lands outside the fortress, and there he remains for the duration of the battle, never taking to the air again. I have read much speculation about how this dragon came to dwell in Blackreach, and when he arrived, but no text provides certain answers. He was not among Alduin's resurrected lieutenants, for he was never dead, merely hidden. Some scholars theorize that the Dwemer struck a bargain with him, offering him sanctuary from the dragon hunts that raged above in exchange for protection of their most valuable projects. The Aetherium deposits and the research conducted here would certainly be worth guarding with a dragon's might, but this is mere conjecture. Vulthuryol keeps his own counsel, and once summoned, he can never be summoned again. The orb rings only once for each soul who strikes it. Yet there is more to tell of the Hall of Rumination, which stands in the northwestern part of the Silent City. This building has suffered greatly from the passage of time, with rubble strewn throughout its interior. In its main chamber, a basin surrounded by stone chairs suggests this was once a place of contemplation or decision-making, though the Falmer, who now occupy it, understand nothing of its original purpose. A lift within carries visitors to a higher level, emerging onto a narrow balcony that curves around the lift tower. From this vantage point, one can look out over much of Blackreach, and the great orange orb that summons Vulthuryol hangs slightly below this elevated position. Upon this balcony, growing in a large urn, I found a specimen of Crimson Nirnroot, a plant I will discuss shortly, for it deserves particular attention. The pumping station, another structure within the Silent City, once served some hydraulic purpose for the Dwemer infrastructure. Now it is largely blocked by debris. Its original function long ceased, though Falmer servants still wander its halls. Near this building, accessible through various connections to the other structures, one finds evidence of the Dwemer's engineering prowess still at work, or at least still present, even if no longer maintained. I must now turn your attention to a building that stands apart from the others, both in preservation and in significance. The war quarters occupy a position in the southeastern part of Blackreach, a small dwarven building consisting of 3 rooms, 2 of which still contain beds. Inside, I discovered 2 chests with leveled random contents, located past the 3rd door on a balcony that overlooks the entrance. But the war quarters hold another secret. To the west of this building lies a small arena-like area with an ancient arena ring just beyond. In the stands, overlooking this arena, atop a table, rests a copy of 2920, Mid-Year, Volume 6, a text concerning heavy armor techniques. One must navigate carefully past the spinning blade trap in the arena's center to reach these stands, and a dwarven centurion often patrols nearby, ready to crush any intruders. The Silent City catacombs represent a ruin within a ruin, a small Dwemer structure accessible through a tunnel whose door opens to reveal burial spaces now occupied by the Falmer. At the entrance to these catacombs grows another specimen of Crimson Nirnroot, adding to the count of these rare plants scattered throughout Blackreach. Let me speak of the Silent Ruin, a small dwarven house found at the northern end of Blackreach. Unlike the other structures, this building remains mercifully free of Falmer occupation. Though it is not without danger, several Dwemer traps still function within, ready to punish the unwary. Inside, upon a stone chair with a pressure plate positioned before it, I found a copy of Warrior, a text concerning the block skill. The Silent Ruin offers a moment of quiet in this otherwise hostile realm, though the nearby Falmer camp to the north means such peace is fleeting. In the southwestern corner of Blackreach rises the Tower of Mzark, accessible by crossing a stone bridge over the river. This tower stands upon a spire between two waterfalls, and it is perhaps the most significant structure in all of Blackreach. The tower contains an oculory, a massive, stationary machine created by the Dwemer for a purpose that reveals the true depth of their intellectual ambition. The Dwemer, in their endless pursuit of knowledge, sought to read the Elder Scrolls themselves, those artifacts of prophecy and power that exist outside normal time. Yet the Elder Scrolls exact a terrible price upon those who read them repeatedly: blindness, and eventually, madness. The oculary in the Tower of Mzark represents the Dwemer solution to this problem. Through the device's array of focusing lenses, arranged in a precise configuration hanging from the tower's ceiling, they created a method to extract the knowledge from an Elder Scroll and transcribe it onto a Dwemer lexicon. The warp in light produced by the lenses could not, by the nature of the information within a scroll, shield one's mind from the progressive madness associated with repeated viewing, but it could prevent the physical blindness, and the lexicon allowed the information to be studied in a representative format without ever again glimpsing the original source. Within the Tower of Mzark, housed in this very oculary, rests an Elder Scroll, specifically the Dragon Elder Scroll required to learn the Dragon Wren shout. To retrieve it, one must solve a puzzle involving the focusing controls, a series of buttons on a raised podium that adjust the lenses. A skeleton lies in the tower, a man named Drocht, who carried exactly 18 gold pieces, 3 pieces of charcoal, a roll of paper, a sample of bone meal, and a steel dagger. His journal, found beside his bones, reveals that he became obsessed with the oculary, but died without successfully focusing it. His writings provide clues to solving the puzzle, though the solution is simpler than his rambling notes suggest. The puzzle requires placing a blank lexicon into the designated receptacle. Then, one must press the second button from the right 4 times, waiting for the machine to finish moving between each press. This unlocks the second button from the left, which must be pressed twice. Finally, the leftmost button unlocks and requires a single press. The oculary then reveals the Elder Scroll, held in its focusing apparatus for thousands of years, waiting for someone worthy or desperate enough to claim it. On a table near the entrance to the tower sits a grand soul gem, and upon the shelves to the right one finds a dwarven helmet. In the southern corner of the first room rests an elixir of strength, and throughout the tower are scattered various alchemical ingredients. On a table to the left, upon first entering, is a copy of the Armorer's Challenge, a smithing skill book. Once the Elder Scroll has been claimed, a lift in a passage below the focusing controls carries visitors back to the surface, emerging in an enclosed area with an abandoned campsite. Here, on a table within a tent, lie an iron dagger, iron sword, and iron gauntlets, the remnants of some previous explorer's equipment. If you genuinely enjoy these facts about this dark place beneath the earth, and you want more of these facts from Skyrim, hit that like button. It really motivates me to create more such videos. Yet I have not finished speaking of the structures scattered throughout this vast cavern, for each holds secrets worth recording. Directly across from the gates of Alftan Cathedral stands a small dwarven building that has become known as Sinderion's Field Laboratory. This structure, tells a tragic tale that connects Blackreach to events in distant Cyrodiil, decades before my arrival. Sinderion was a master alchemist from Skingrad who became obsessed with Nirnroot, that distinctive plant whose chiming sound betrays its presence. In the year 4E58, he somehow acquired an attunement sphere. How he obtained this Dwemer artifact remains a mystery, and traversed Alftand to reach Blackreach. He came seeking the Crimson Nirnroot, a variant of the common plant that grows exclusively in these depths. An explorer named Obeth Arnesian had directed him here, claiming this underground realm harbored these rare specimens. Inside the laboratory, I found Sinderion's remains, his skeletal hands still clutching his field journal. The journal reveals his findings about the Crimson Nirnroot and its relationship to the cavern's unique ecosystem. Unlike the green Nirnroot found throughout Skyrim, which grows near water, the crimson variety has adapted to survive near the fungi of Blackreach. The mushrooms sustain the Nirnroot, allowing it to grow away from open water sources, though it still shows a preference for moist areas. The plant's distinctive chiming sound differs slightly from its surface cousin. The tone is off-key, as though Blackreach itself has corrupted even the song of the plants that grow here. The laboratory contains an alchemy station, an arcane enchanter, a cooking pot, and a workbench, making it the only building in all of Blackreach to house all 4 crafting stations. On a stone desk beside a sample of Crimson Nirnroot lies a copy of Dwemer Durenis, and scattered throughout are numerous alchemical ingredients, including such rare items as a Daedra heart, Eye of Sabercat, Ice Wraith teeth, Luna Mothwing, honeycomb, a black soul gem, a greater soul gem, and 2 more samples of Crimson Nirnroot. Just outside the structure, near the door, an ebony ore vein waits to be mined. Sinderion was killed by one of the still functional Dwemer animunculi, a dwarven sphere that patrols outside his laboratory to this day. This particular sphere is one of the few that possesses a ranged attack, making it especially dangerous to those who would follow Sinderion's path. His death meant his research remained unfinished, but his journal indicates he was on the brink of an important discovery about the Crimson Nirnroot's properties. Throughout Blackreach, I counted at least 44 locations where Crimson Nirnroot grows, scattered across the cavern floor, near mushroom patches, along Dwemer pipes, and beside the sides of the cavern walls. One specimen grows inside the laboratory itself, preserved in a pot. Another can be found in the central pool of the derelict pump house. High up where frost trolls make their lairs, far from any water, another specimen somehow thrives. The plants will regrow after 10 days if harvested, though curiously, the green thumb alchemy perk that normally allows gathering 2 samples from a single plant has no effect on either Crimson or common Nirnroot. One may only collect a single sample from each plant, regardless of skill. I must now turn your attention to the derelict pump house, a structure situated in the southeastern part of Blackreach, in the middle of a lake. This building once served some hydraulic function in the Dwemer water management system, but now stands abandoned, its mechanisms long silent. Several geode ore veins can be found nearby, along with specimens of Crimson Nirnroot growing at the water's edge. Inside the pump house are 2 chests, one visible and another hidden and submerged in the water below the structure. A single dwarven spider guards this section of the building, a lonely sentinel maintaining its eternal watch. A lift inside provides access to the upper entrance, which connects to the Ralbathar Deep Market. Let me speak of the Ralbathar Deep Market, for it represents the deepest section of the Ralbathar ruins and sits at the very threshold of Blackreach proper. The surroundings here differ considerably from the upper sections of the ruin, showing clear evidence of the connection to the underground city. The market area shows signs of ancient Dwemer commerce, though what goods they traded in this subterranean space can only be imagined. Falmer now inhabit the area, and to the west of the entrance, leading from the market into Blackreach, inside a Falmer hut, one can find the chest piece of Falmer armor, one of only 2 guaranteed locations in all of Skyrim where this armor can be obtained. Other pieces may be found on the Falmer themselves, depending on their level and equipment. The Reeking Tower rises in the northwestern section of Blackreach, and its name proves apt the moment one approaches. Webs and egg sacs coat its exterior, marking it as a nest for frost spiders who have claimed this Dwemer structure as their lair. Several Crimson Nirnroot plants grow around the tower's base, their chiming barely audible over the skittering of spider legs. Inside are more egg sacs and a chest containing leveled treasures, though the spiders themselves pose little threat to an experienced warrior. Northwest of the Tower of Mzark stands the Farm Overseer's House, a small empty Dwemer building that once managed the mushroom cultivation operations. Inside are a few alchemical ingredients, some Falmer equipment left by more recent occupants, and scattered dwarven metal items. The true significance of this location lies not within the building but around it. This is one of the few places where one can observe evidence of the Dwemer's agricultural efforts in Blackreach, farming mushrooms in the damp environment to feed their underground population. But now, let us speak of the mineral wealth that drew the Dwemer to these depths even before they discovered Aetherium. Throughout Blackreach are scattered 36 geode veins, in total 34 in the cavern itself, and 2 more within the Silent City catacombs. 23 of these geode veins can be mined to yield level-dependent empty soul gems. At level 16, grand soul gems and black soul gems begin to appear with very low probability, and this chance increases until one reaches level 30 for grand soul gems or 31 for black soul gems. The remaining 13 geode veins behave differently. They are no different from standard corundum ore veins, yielding 3 corundum ores each time they are mined, with a chance of also producing regular gems. This peculiarity has puzzled scholars, though some suggest it may indicate these veins were depleted of their soul gem producing properties through Dwemer mining operations. Beyond the geode veins, Blackreach also contains 14 corundum ore veins, 6 ebony ore veins, 3 gold ore veins, 2 moonstone ore veins, 3 orichalcum ore veins, 3 quicksilver ore veins, and 3 silver ore veins, a mineral wealth that would make any surface mine seem paltry by comparison. I shall now turn to a peculiarity of Blackreach that defies all natural law. Despite being deep underground, sealed beneath countless tons of stone and earth, Blackreach is considered by some fundamental property to be an outdoor area. This means that shouts and spells that function only under open sky, such as Stormcall and the summoning of Arvak, work perfectly within this cavern. Couriers, who normally only appear in outdoor locations, may spawn here, appearing as if by magic in the depths. Yet stranger still, vampires who enter Blackreach suffer the same weaknesses they would experience during daylight hours on the surface. Despite there being no sunlight whatsoever in these depths at least, this was true before certain magical adjustments were made that now treat Blackreach as perpetually night. The inhabitants of Blackreach are as varied as they are deadly. The Falmer, those tragic, corrupted descendants of the Snow Elves, have claimed most of the Dwemer structures as their own. They wander the ruins in groups, accompanied by their Charas servants, those massive insects they have domesticated and bred for both protection and sustenance. The Charas create primitive camps from their own chitin, structures that mar the geometric precision of Dwemer architecture with organic chaos. Yet the Falmer are not the only denizens here. Giants roam certain sections of Blackreach, their presence a mystery that no scholar has adequately explained. How creatures of such size descended to these depths, or why they remain, is unknown. Frost trolls lurk in the higher reaches where the cavern walls meet the glowing ceiling. Wismothers drift through the darker passages, their ethereal forms casting ghostly light upon ancient stones. Frostbite spiders have made homes in various nooks and crannies, their webs spanning gaps between Dwemer structures. And then there are the Dwemer animunculi themselves, the mechanical guardians left behind when their creators vanished. Dwarven spiders scuttle along the pathways, their bronze legs clicking against stone. Dwarven spheres roll through the ruins on their single wheel, then unfold into battle forms when intruders approach. And most fearsome of all, the Dwarven centurions, towering constructs nearly 12 feet tall, powered by steam, one arm ending in a great sword and the other in a heavy maul. These machines can fire steam as a ranged weapon, and their physical attacks can stagger even the most stalwart warrior. They are highly resistant to magic and conventional weapons, though fire harms them more than other damage types. Their only significant weakness is their lack of speed. A nimble fighter can circle them, but their defenses make them among the most dangerous foes in all of Blackreach. Many centurions stand dormant in wall frames throughout the ruins, stepping out only when someone ventures too close. A high sneak skill can allow passage without waking them, but once roused, they pursue their targets with mechanical determination. Each centurion contains a Centurion dynamo core, a component necessary for certain crafting recipes, and their bodies yield various dwarven metal scraps, large decorative Dwemer struts from their helm decorations, solid Dwemer metal from their forearms, and large Dwemer struts from their shoulder ornaments. If you are really enjoying these facts, leave a like. It's the only way I know you liked the video. Yet I have not spoken of the deepest history of Blackreach, for this cavern knew inhabitants even before the Dwemer claimed it. Sometime between the Merethic era and the 2nd century of the First Era, the first vampire clans emerged and established their own kingdoms within Blackreach's sheltering darkness. One of these clans was the Night Hollow, who discovered an artifact known as the Dark Heart deep within these caverns. When the Dwemer later settled here, they built their civilization atop and around these ancient vampire kingdoms, and the interactions between these two powers remain shrouded in mystery. The Dwemer constructed roads throughout the cavern, great cobblestone paths that still endure, though now they are patrolled by their mindless animunculi and the savage Falmer. They built the Silent City as the culmination of their underground ambitions, a true metropolis in the heart of the earth. They farmed the giant mushrooms, creating agricultural systems to sustain their population. They mined the Aetherium that would ultimately divide them. And they created the Tower of Mzark to safely study the Elder Scroll, achieving what no other race had managed a way to read these artifacts of power without suffering their full curse. And then, in the year 1E700, at the Battle of Red Mountain, the Dwemer disappeared. Every last one of them vanished in an instant, leaving behind their machines, their cities, their carefully laid plans, and their secrets. Blackreach fell silent, save for the whirring of animunculi and the chittering of Falmer, who crept in to claim the ruins their ancestors had once begged to shelter in. The teal mist still drifts through the vast cavern. The giant mushrooms still glow with their eerie blue light. The orange orb still hangs above the Silent City, waiting for someone to strike it and wake the dragon who slumbers in the dark. The Elder Scroll still rests in the Tower of Mzark's oculary, holding prophecies that span all of time. And the Crimson Nirnroot still grows and chimes its off-key song, thriving in the symbiotic relationship with the fungi that Sinderion died trying to understand. Blackreach endures. Fal'Zhardum Din, the Blackest Kingdom, reaches a monument to Dwemer ambition, a tomb for their civilization, and a warning that even the mightiest works can be abandoned, their purposes forgotten, their creators erased from the world as if they never were. I have walked its roads, explored its ruins, and stood beneath its glowing ceiling, and I know that I have seen something few eyes have witnessed, and fewer still have truly understood. This is Blackreach, and it will outlast us all.